Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah wa Rabbil Alameen. Akibatun lil mustaqim. Ruhwana ila ala dalimin. Subhanahu wa ta'ala alladhi la yuhibbu mushrikeen. Wa Muhammadan huwa Sayyidina Makbubana innu kana Sayyidin Mursaleen. Salawatu Allah ta'ala wa salamuhu alayhi. Assalamu alaikum, ورحمة الله وبركاته للإخوان والأخوات في دين. Anjarama to my brothers and sisters in the Fulani community. Assalamu alaikum, rahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Halim wa salim bikum. My dear brothers and sisters, today I'm going to cover again about the Fulani community, my community. And I'm covering a topic of Bilad, Sudan. Those who are not familiar with this term, means the land of the black man, land of the black people. And I'm going to cover the second part of this. This is the second segment of this. And then I'm going to cover some other aspects of it about the Fulani, what happened to him when he went north into the Sahara, and so forth and so on. I'll cover in that also that area, but not today, inshallah ta'ala. And this is geared more for the brother and sister who are Fulani in the United States, who are now have uncovered their DNA, and now they realize that they are Fulani. I've had the pleasure and the honor of a dear sister who I've been knowing from Compton, California, since I was 5 years old. I talked about this before, but we reconfirmed this the other day again. And I've always been drawn to her, and she'd been drawn to me. We used to, can you believe this? We used to walk to school. I mean, this is incredible. We walk to school together, talk after school, and we always had this connection. Now we found out she's Fulani. Amazing. And she almost has about the same percentage of Fulani blood as I do. And she's predominantly Fulani as I am. She's also a Mende and Mendinka, and also Igbo from Nigeria. And so, this is geared for them because they are not up to speed, especially on African history in particular, because you know the history in the United States. So I'm covering some aspects here about Bilad Sudan and about the Fulani, because his importance in it is the Fulani factor. Because the Bilad Sudan cannot succeed with the suppression of the Fulani people. Cannot. It's not going to work. Because the Fulani community have been the front runners of the great sultanates in what we call West Africa. The Tuba calls West Africa, but in the Arabic language, Gharib, Ifriqiya, West Africa, and the Asiatic language of Arabic. So they have been a major factor, and they have to play a major role today. Why is that, you say, Yahya? Let's look at this for what it is. Majority, the most predominant scholars in Gharib, Africa, West Africa, are Fulani. Our most intellectual of all the scholars are whom? Fulani. Many of our heads of state and our leaders in West Africa are what? Fulani. Who were the first south of the Sahara when the Afro-Arabs began to encounter the black man, the real black man, not the mixture black man up the north, but the real black man, south of the Sahara. Then he began to name it Bilad Sudan. He came across who? The Fulani. They were the first to receive the message of Islam, south of the Sahara. So the significance and importance of the Fulani factor cannot be understated. This is why we're talking about it, and why I'm talking about it, because I want to bring my brothers and sisters in America in particular and the West Indies up to speed on this, because they should understand their history is very, very vast, very, very powerful, very unique, and very intriguing as far as that. So some may wonder, well, yeah, I don't understand what's going on here. Well, you have to pick up the newspaper, so to speak, or look at some of the programs on TV. The Fulani community is under fire. And we're losing our language, which I have not quite learned yet, Pular in particular. And we're losing the language, and we're losing a lot of the culture. And we're also maligned because what I have talked about, about a week, 2 weeks ago now, about the Fulani factor as far as the Mujahideen and the trouble in the Sahel region. I don't want to talk about that today. I already talked about that. But we have brilliant scholars now, and imams and Sheikh Islams, who are my Fulani brothers, who are talking about these issues. And you can see them in Facebook and whatnot. And they're talking about exposing things that's happening to the Fulani community. So I won't divulge into that because my brothers are doing that, and they're also speaking in the Fulani languages, so that way they can get this message across. And so it's an important factor because again, Garib Africa cannot succeed with the suppression of the Fulani community. Cannot. It cannot succeed with the suppression of the Hausa community as well. Cannot. Because we are predominant in the Garib Africa area, which West Africa, again, for those who speak English, West Africa. And so you cannot suppress this element and ask to be successful. Cannot. Especially the Fulani. Cannot do it. So when we talk about Bilad and Sudan, let's look at it again. Our ancient Egyptian brothers, they were black. I'm going to tell you right now, I know there's Tubab who want to argue because they want to, and I'm not going to really argue this point a lot because there's a lot of scientific fact. We got the melon test that Sheikh Diab, our famous ancestral brother scientist, who made a test designed to test the melon in the skin. And he found that the mummies that they have found were actually black. See, the pharaohs and so forth and so on, actually black. That coincides with Herodias, his comments that he made also about the Egyptians when he encountered them, when he came to Egypt. He described them as black-skinned with wide nose, thick lips, and very, very kinky, crisp hair, as he calls it. So, and our brothers in the south of their area, they begin to call this area I got it down here now. Excuse me. Ta Nahashi. This is the Egyptian word. The Tubab, let's look at something for a minute, brothers and sisters. I want you to look at something by common sense. Here you have an area that the Tubab says was white, blonde hair, blue-eyed. Okay? The people. Across with a name like Ta Nahashi. This is not French. This is not Italian. This is not German. It's not Latin. It's not Yugoslavian. This is African. And then he goes across a way and he meets his black brothers, okay, who are the same, who are black. Now, wait a minute. This doesn't hold water. So they had a language, and these languages are all related. That's why they call them Afro-Asiatic languages. And this is a sad fact about this issue dealing with the Tubab because of his racism, and he tried to change the history. But even some of his historians who weren't racist wrote what they saw. So this is an important factor. So we look at this, and the name was given to the South of Sahara by the Afro-Arabs, Bilad and Sudan, like I talked about last week. And they saw something. When you look at the journals written in the Arabic language, they saw something about the area they named Bilad and Sudan. Ta-Nahashi. Okay, if you want to call it also in Egyptian language. And they saw something. They saw pride, scholarship. They saw the wealth. They saw the miraculous of the Islamic sultanates. And they saw the people, the graciousness of the people as well. They saw this. And the leading of that is the Fulani, because they began to encounter the Fulani when they crossed the south of the Sahara. They began to encounter the Fulani people with their cattle going through the Sahara. And then they began to encounter, and they began to even mix with many of the Fulani people. And they began to introduce the classical Arabic language that got mixed in with many of the Fulani dialects. We cannot deny that. And they began to marry our Fulbe women, which they found beautiful and luscious. So this is a part of the history too that a lot of times has been ignored. The Fulani ancestral brethren, plus our Hausa brothers, when we talk about the Fulani in particular, you got to mention the Hausa, because the Hausa are our brothers. Yes, we have conflicts, but they are our brothers as well. And you cannot push aside their role in the Bilad, Sudan, especially establishing the prominence of West Africa or Gharib Africa. They cannot. So they took Islam, and boy, did they take it. And they began to spread it, and they took it with grace. They propelled it. They managed it. They established it with rightful scholarship and sultanates. This is how they honored the order, the Umar in Arabic of the Prophet ﷺ, the Umar of our Subhanahu wa Ta'ala also, and to take this religion, and they took it hard even to this day. Even to this day, brothers and sisters, they have taken this fundamentally and they have ran with it. The most famous of the scholars, most prominent of our scholars, the most intellectual of our scholars are still Fulani today. Our Fulani and Hausa brethren elevated Islam to great heights. Great many sultans. Also, I have to always mention this. This is a fact, brothers. Many of the great sultans of Morocco look like me. I'm going to tell you right now, it's astonishing. And they were Fulani people. And I will cover later on about some of the aspects, perhaps you do not. I've covered this in some other segments of my other talks on YouTube. But I'm going to cover this to add more to the flavor of what has happened in, especially Al-Maghrib. Al-Maghrib is in Arabic for Morocco and that region, and how the Fulani played an instrumental part in that. But I won't cover that today. But the also, our brothers are Hausa. I have a sister here who I felt from the first time here in Morocco. I met her when she came to visit here, my family here in Morocco. They came to visit, and I saw her, and I see many people come in, but something about her, I said, you know what? I don't know why I have this connection with my beautiful sister, Saida, that's her name. And then when she was tested, I found out we're related, third, fourth generation. Amazing. But she has more Hausa blood than she has Fulani. See? So the sultans of Morocco were Fulani and Hausa lineages plus Tuareg. So they rose from the south. And if you know about this history, which I'll get deeper into another time, and know about this history, the Fulani played an integral part of establishing Al-Maghrib. That's right, they did. And so that cannot be understated. What is the importance of the name Bilad Sudan to us today? It is an area that is unique in itself, because we have to use this term to put a barrier between us and everybody else, because our continent has been robbed of its resources, its people, and its history. And the Fulani is part of that. Maligned, talked against. Even when the Tuba began to see how educated, how intellectual how brilliant many of the Fulanis, they begin to call us black-skinned white folks. They begin to call us Hamites and all kind of names because they wanted to separate them. Because, you know, then they found a black man who was intelligent and suddenly he couldn't be black anymore. They said, yeah, well, he's black in skin, but he's actually a Semite or he's a Hamite. Incredible. But this is the Bilad Sudan, the land of the black people, is important. We want to dismiss this type of heresy when we have the Tubab, when we have intellectual black folk in Ghana, Africa in particular, is suddenly because he's a scholar in Islam or he's a brilliant mathematician or he's a scientist, suddenly he becomes a Tubab because the Tubab don't want to show that black people can be intelligent. That's another history lesson all in itself. But this is a simple fact that I wrote out here. And this is a fact that why many of the brothers want to talk, because we should talk about this history, about Bilad Sudan. We should keep our brothers up to speed and our children. I'll get into another segment of that at another time. And our children. Our children should be made to be aware of this, be proud to be Fulbi, be proud to be African. That's another class in itself. The Muslims, irrespective of race, should come to know and appreciate the wonderful things that transpired in Bilad Sudan. Brothers and sisters, this is a simple fact. When the Afro-Arabs began to come here, okay, they gave us Islam. When they began to return, they found sultanates and they found universities and they found it learned and scholarly work. Brothers who were writing in the Arabic language at a high level. And this went on from about the 13th century to the 18th century. About 500 years of outstanding scholarship. Leading the way were the Fulani brothers. So this takes on significance in that many of our Afro-Arab historians did acknowledge that. But today, many of the racist Afro-Arabs in particular won't acknowledge that. And racist Tubab historians as well, they won't acknowledge that. But we do know there's enough documents now, and we also know too, which the Tubabs hate to admit this, when they were in the Dark Ages, they sent their brides across into Ghana, Africa, West Africa, to learn. And they learned the Arabic language because the instructions were taught at that time in the Arabic language. See, so even the Tubab European knew of the importance of Ghana, Africa, West Africa, and Bilad Sudan. The Tubab creating the states that we know today, they created this to colonize, and it's almost like a piece of pie. A bunch of people come over to the house and say the sisters make a big, beautiful pie, and each one carve out some portions of this pie for our own. This is what the Tubab done. And they began to create state. They broke up Al-Maghrib, which ran in the olden times from modern day Libya. When you go past a little bit of northern part, some parts of Chad. And if you look at the map, you go across to Mauritania and parts of Mali, and then to some parts of Senegal and up. This used to be Al-Maghrib, Morocco as we know it today. But the French broke it up into Algeria, Tunis, and so forth, and the British got involved and then took portions, and then it was called Libya. So they did this for a reason, because the sultanates, they wanted to make sure they wanted to put this to rest. So they began to create these borders so that we'll have these conflicts that we still have today. Why is it, brothers, we here in West Africa, or we're in North Africa and so forth, why do we need to have visas to visit our brother next door? That's ridiculous. When the Tubab, he has the EU, he has open borders, but yet he comes here to preach to us here in Africa that we should have closed borders and we should distrust our black brothers, but when the Tubab come over, we should let them in without any fanfare, no problem. But if there's a black man, another black man, we're supposed to be suspicious of him. We're supposed to mistreat him. We're supposed to treat him as a second-class black man when he comes in, it's hard for him to get a visa to go to certain African countries and all that. But the Tubab doesn't have that problem. He can go in and out of here when he wants. The Chinese now as well, and the Russians as well. But the black man, he doesn't have that luxury. This has to stop in order for Bilad Sudan to progress. Until Bilad Sudan admits and supports the unification of Bilad Sudan through Islamic ways and means, she will not prosper and will continue to struggle. Brothers and sisters, we have to be honest here. As you heard me say this before, this is substantiated by hard historical facts. When the Juju had his power, or the man who was practicing voodoo, or a man who was practicing Ifa, or he was practicing Obia, or he was not any of those. He was, I forgot what they call this other one. Anyway, he worshiped the forest and the natural. I can't think what they call that. But anyway, they did not create the sultanates. They couldn't galvanize anybody except a small area, a geographical area. But the Muslims created these sultanates, and they galvanized many under it. This has to happen again because Subhanahu wa ta'ala blesses the Muslims. He gives them wealth and power when they become under the Sharia, which I've talked about in other shows on my YouTube station. So this has to be because under Islam, we have a lingua franca of the Asiatic language of Arabic. So therefore, the brother who's sitting in Senegal, he may not be able to talk to his brother in the Cameroon because maybe he doesn't speak French or English, right? So this, brother, I'm sorry, we have some work getting done here at my house here. I hear the man, I'm hoping it doesn't last long. That they can communicate through the Arabic language, which has happened for 500 years. A brother from Cameroon, the brother from Senegal, or brother from Ghana, he may not be able to speak the language of the Cameroon. See, so they use Arabic as that lingua franca to bridge the gap. We have to have that today. We cannot look to the Shimal, which is North Africa, for guidance, especially Islamic matters. They cannot. North Africa, we all know what's happening. I don't have to go deep into that. That's self-explanatory what is happening in North Africa. You can't look to them for Islamic matters or even anything doing with Bilad Sudan. You know that many in Shimal Africa, they have problems understanding who they actually are. Many, my brothers believe they're Arab, but they took their DNA test, they found that they're Amazigh. They're Arab by culture and language, yes, but they're not Arab. They're Amazigh. Okay, this is a simple fact. But we have problems in this area here in Morocco, Algeria, and so forth. Which are you? Are you African or what? And many of them say, no, I'm Arab. They identify more with that of the Hijaz and that area of which they call Jazeera Arab, more so than they do in Africa. This is a problem. So we should not look to the north for this guidance of Bilad Sudan. So the real power of Bilad Sudan lies south of the Sahara. Because of the scholarship we have here is off the charts, brothers and sisters. We got brilliant people here. Finance, sciences, we have doctors, we have chemists, we have all these. They're Fulani, they're Hausa, they're Mendika. I mean, we have all this. Some of them Capelli, some of them Mende. So we have that. So we should not look to the north for any guidance. We can't depend on them because they're under a stronghold of the Tubab. More so than West Africa. West Africa still is too, but North Africa in particular. Coupled with the intellectuals in finance, as I talked about, under the Sharia law, the mission is the betterment of Bilad Sudan. We have to look for the betterment of that, not to include anybody else. We have to protect our continent. They do it. The Europeans do it. The Tubab. The Americans do it. The Tubab American. They protect. Why can't we protect our own? We cannot. The minute we talk about that, then we're called terrorists. We're called extremists. We're called criminals. We're called many different names. But yet they can be protective of their land, but we protective of ours. Then we have to be killed. We have to be jailed for it. And we have to bring leadership who believe in the betterment of Bilad Sudan. and not to rub shoulders with the Tuba neocolonials. We don't want that. Yes, you have to deal with them, but you don't rub shoulders with them and be step and fetch it to their whims and their desires. We're not looking for that. This is something we've had for centuries upon centuries, and it don't work. You know that. You see the sorry state we are in Africa today. We are at the right time now to make proposals about the concept of Bilad in Sudan. We are, brothers and sisters, because we have some African leaders who are now starting to push hard against the Tuba culture and language and start to reincorporating African languages and customs and desires. They're starting to do this. And we must redefine the borders. At one time, Bilad in Sudan, I don't know if I'm going to cover this, have time to cover all of that, but the borders of Bilad in Sudan is not as you see it today. We actually cover all of Bilad in Sudan, meaning parts of the Hijaz, meaning the Jazir Arab, which you know as the Middle East, Yemen, Oman, and places like that. And I don't know if I have a map of that. I'm looking for it. No, I don't have a map of that today. Sorry, brothers and sisters, to cover that part. But this is the right time now to propel the concept of Bilad in Sudan. And again, brothers and sisters, and we must be inclusive to all. Juju, Ifa, Voodoo, all of us brothers have to come together, irrespective of the religion. But we have to have the Islamic leadership, because this has been proven in the past. Why do you think the Tubab came here to fight so hard? He wasn't afraid of the small Ifa communities. He was not afraid of the small Juju communities or the small Obia community or Voodoo communities. He was afraid of the Islamic empires. That's why he wanted to disband it. That's why he fought so hard. And that's why he got us. And then when they defeated us, prisoners of war was sent over to America. That's how my ancestors got to America. You see? So we have to be inclusive of that because of this factor, brothers and sisters. This is a map that's running all the way from the east, from the west, Garib, Africa. I'm talking about all the way to Senegal, southern parts of Mauritania, western Mauritania, and some parts of Morocco, all the way to the east. This is why I said to you before, why the Fulani have to be an integral part of the development of that, because we're everywhere in Bilad in Sudan, especially Garib, Africa. We're all over the place in this. How can you dismiss this fact? We have the people in place. We have the people who are in finance. We have people who are scientists. They're Fulani. We have brilliant scholars and statesmen and so forth and so on. They have to be included, and their voices have to be heard, and their leadership has to be able to grow and nurture in order to propel us into the national limelight. We have the resources for that, brothers and sisters. If we sell our oil, our diamonds, our bauxite, all the minerals and stuff like that, water, fruits, vegetables, and everything, and bring that money back here to empower the communities, we'll be off the charts. The Tuba knows that. That's why he pushes to keep us separated. He don't want to see the Fulani in Guinea, Bissau, or Guinea-Conakry talking with the brother in Kano, Nigeria. He don't want to see me talking with my brothers in Kano, in Borno, or any places like this. They don't want to, or in Buja. They don't want to see us do that. They don't want to see us talking together. They don't like that. See, so this is a sad fact, but it is a pertinent fact. Our leadership must be ardent patriots of this concept. They have to believe that Bilad in Sudan is an integral part of this world, and not to be a stepping stone for everybody to come in here and take, but to be an equal partner where people respect us. This is what we have to have in our leadership. Not when men used the Tuba or the Chinese step in off the plane. You see many of our leaders, their hands are trembling as though they're coming across the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ or Prophet Jesus ﷺ. These are not prophets. These are men only, and their aim is not to empower Bilad in Sudan. There is to control it and to keep the resources going and the human trafficking going. Brothers, they're still, as we speak today, taking black folk out of here, especially our women. They're still doing that. And they want to keep this going because it's a lucrative business for the two-bob businessmen and enterprises. See? So our leadership must be patriots and to be able to stop all of this. The two biggest and most powerful and influential ethnic groups are the Fulani and Hausa. We must bridge that gap between us, stand together for the betterment of Bilad and Sudan. I can't stress that. We have skirmishes going on, especially in Nigeria today, between the Hausa and the Fulani communities. Yes, we have old age problems, but we have to solve that. And we have to do better to get us together for the betterment of Bilad and Sudan. There's no other way about it. The Fulani cannot take control of Bilad and Sudan only. He has to have the corporation. He has to be with his brothers, his black brothers of other groups as well. Okay? We have to have this. We have to, because we have one common goal. It's Bilad and Sudan. It's the betterment of it. The region disputes between, this is a sad fact. What's happening in the Sahel today is absolutely disgusting. We understand why it's happening. I won't get deep into that. But we have major disputes that's allowed people to kill each other. We have Fulani killing Tuareg, Tuareg killing Fulani. We have Hausa killing Fulani and Tuareg, Tuareg killing Hausa. We have all of these things that's going on today. Brothers and sisters, this has got to stop. The West African governments must be handled by Islamic scholars and taking the lead when there's conflicts. We have to allow our scholars, our most intellectuals, to go in and handle these disputes. They can do it. We have brilliant scholars here. Even in North Africa, we have brilliant scholars. We should be able to handle our own problems between brothers and not have the Tubab come in who's a kafir. He's a disbeliever. What is he doing trying to mediate between two brothers who are Muslims? That's more than haram. That's disbelief. Okay, it's not sanctioned under Islamic law. And even under the African annals, okay, we look at that. The African annals, we have a majlis, a body of old wise men, okay, griots and so forth and so on, and Islamic scholars. They can get together and they can have some counsel to bring warring parties back to the fold again. This is what we need. Because we have to have that, because there's stuff going on right now with the Fulani and the Hausa and the Tuareg. No. It's got to stop. It's got to stop. It's an embarrassment for us, and it doesn't serve us, and it keeps us down. The meaning here, the Sharia Allah Ta'ala is equipped to handle any crisis and disputes. Brothers and sisters, this is a simple fact. The Islamic law handles every dispute you see in the Sahel can be handled by Islamic law. And we have brilliant scholars. We have Fulani judges and faqirs and Sheikh Islams and imams. And we have others also, Hausa, and we have Mandinka brothers that are brilliant too, who can mediate. We have Mende scholars and statesmen who can mediate. We have that. And we should be able to do this under the Sharia Allah Ta'ala and handle our disputes. When we begin to handle disputes, there's no more conflicts anymore. All of the things that's happening to Asabiya, meaning the village ethnic group fights, have to come to end. They will happen because we're human beings. Conflicts will happen, but we should be able to mediate that to stop that. Lastly, we must be inclusive to bring the best from the outside of Africa. Okay, Bilad and Sudan. That's a simple fact, especially the Americans. I know there's some African brothers who don't particularly care for the African American there in the United States in particular. And we have African Americans who don't care for their African brothers as well. But we have to have a simple talk about this, because Africa cannot, Bilad and Sudan cannot be inclusive and also be ignorant of the technology advances that the black men in America have and the financial clout. That is evident when Ghana announced the return. Look at the money that was generated from the black man and his family there from America and the West Indies, but mainly from America. How much money was generated in Ghana. The president of Ghana, he knows that. He stressed that. He talked about that. Think about this, brothers and sisters. When you incorporate our Fulani, our Mende, our Mendinka, our Igbo brothers and Hausa brothers who are living in the United States, okay, who have no, you can't blame them for being there because their forefathers and foremothers was taken by the Tubab into slave ships into America. They're there. They're not going away. Now they have these technical advances. They have financial means that our brothers here typically don't have. So we bring this money and enterprise, and the intellectuals are builders and farmers, and they have technology, and plus they have money. They'll come here to help. Look at Ghana. Ghana was smart. They opened it up, and look what happened. Okay, yes, I'm not going to get deep into that. They mismanaged the money. Yes, we know the African leaders, how they are. But how much money was generated in Ghana from just a return in 1 year? Millions upon millions, brothers and sisters. We have Fulani brothers and sisters there who are brilliant and smart, educated. They want to come here to Africa. But there's something that's stumbling here about that. Bilad Sudan citizenship is very elusive. They'll give it to the Tubab, but they don't want to give it mainly to the black man and black woman in the Caribbean, from Trinidad, or from Barbados or Bermuda, or from Haiti, okay, or Jamaica. They don't want to, or from Dominica. They don't want to give a citizenship. Or he's from Los Angeles, California. They don't want to give a citizenship. Okay, and we should have a Bilad Sudan passports to give that to those brilliant brothers and sisters who are qualified to come from there, our Fulani brothers and sisters, in particular, who are eligible and who have Africa in their minds and in their hearts, and who want to see the betterment of Bilad Sudan. We should give them passports so they can leave that hellhole that they call the United States now, where you've been killed off, jailed, disenfranchised. Give them the passport so when they cut up over there and they act up and they begin to kill even more and they begin to take more money from and disenfranchise of our brothers and sisters there, this will help them, okay, by say, okay, I had enough in LA. I'm tired of the Tubab cop getting me, arresting me, shooting my children, so I'm going to go to Africa. We have to open that up. Mentorship programs to bring up to speed of being African. In order for the brothers and sisters to leave the Western Hemisphere, okay, and leave from the land of the Tubab, he has to be re-educated and brought back up to speed to be an African. This is a simple fact. Some of us were ready-made already because we began to act African even in LA. Then we came over here, we had small adjustments. Many of our black brothers and sisters are going to have a harder time to adjust. We have to have this mentorship program established by our leaders to get our brothers, our Fulani American brothers, Hausa American brothers, Mende American brothers, our Igbo American brothers up to speed being African again when they come back here. You got to put them in programs. You can't just let them walk around here, and you see what is happening in the Gambia. I talked many times with many brothers. Many brothers come over from LA. Yes, they're black as the night. But the brothers, their mindset and their concepts, they're Tubab. And that's why they've been called Tubab, even though they're black as the night, but they're called Tubab because their ways and means. They have to be re-educated, brought back to the African community. It's not easy because that's what they know there in the United States. So we have to have that. And each one arriving should have their DNA tested. Brothers and sisters, you got to have that. I'm sorry. If a brother comes in from LA, he comes in Africa, he's questioned, okay, brother, yes, I know, I see you a black man, yes, but hey, how about your mommy and daddy? What about them? And you say, I don't know, I'm African? That's not cutting it today. You have a DNA test. We have the African ancestry group who now their certificates are being accepted by many West African governments, Africa as authentic. They will test you and they'll tell you if you're Igbo. They'll tell you if you're Fulani. They'll tell you if you're Mende, if you're Mendinka, okay, or Wolof. They'll tell you all this. You need that. So when you come into Africa, we want to know who you are. Yes, we know you're Yahya Shabaka. We know that. but we want to know your daddy and your mommy. Oh, mommy is Fulani. Daddy is Amazigh. Daddy's also Hausa. Okay, we want to know that, because then you can take this and be African. We want that. And known by their ethnic groups. You have to have that, brothers and sisters. You step in. This is the problem we have with the brothers and sisters coming from the United States. They don't know what they are. Yes, they're black. But when you ask them a question, what are you? They don't know. They can't tell you if they're from the Akan people of Ghana. They don't know that. They don't know if they're Mende. They don't know if they're Kampeli. They don't know if they're Bambara. They don't even know who they are. They have to have this. They have this paper in hand when they step into the African continent, and they, hey, brother, yeah. Hey, okay, we know, yeah, we see what you are, but you tell, oh man, mommy is Fulani, mommy's Amazigh also, daddy is from the Hausa. You see, that's how we talk. So that way, there's no questions. They know who you are, because when they say you African American, they know you're American. But how about the African part? You ain't settled that yet. You settled the American part because we know you're there because you were born there. You have American passport. But we want to see something else. How about the African part of it? You have not established that. See, this is the problem. You say African American. You establishing your American part, but how about the African part? Why can't you say, yes, I'm Fulani American? That settles the argument. Okay? When you go and hey man, I'm Hausa American. See, that's what I'm talking about. And so, brothers and sisters, I'll be concluding here with this talk. And I'll go back into the second part of this, another segment, I should say, of this. But we have to have the talk here, because the Fulani, this is the geographical area where the Fulani are, running from the west to the east to the west. This is important factor that has to be laid out, because you cannot have a successful Bilad Sudan without the Fulani being an integral part of it. And he cannot be suppressed. And we have to have this element in there. And we must have that. And we must utilize our resources and whatnot. And, and the resources, these are our resources. Okay, these are some of our most important resources here. The family, the Fulani, the Philby family, this is an important factor. We have to have this. We have to have this nurtured and protected. And our children, we're still depopulated in West Africa. We should be able to have our children 3, 4, 5, 6 to repopulate West Africa, because it's still suffering from 10 to 12 million that were taken out from Africa and still being taken today by the Tubab into Europe and into the Middle East or Jazar Arab. So we still have that problem, but this is a resource here that we must protect. And we have the most beautiful women here in Africa, especially the Fulani woman. And so we have to protect our sisters to make sure that they're able and ready to carry on the family. You cannot have her to take a lead and to propel the family when she's not allowed education, and when she's subjugated and she's hurt and she's meaningless in society. When our sisters like this, we should be treating them as queens, not as second-class citizens to be abused and used. We cannot. Our resources, we must have beautiful, our families, we must nurture that, brothers and sisters. I'm an old man now. I'm an old man, past my prime. But we have young brothers and sisters like this. We have to help them and nurture them. We have to have programs to propel them into the limelight for Bilad Sudan's, betterment. I think about, and I look at the young couples today, and I'm so happy to see the Fulby community and whatnot, and I see our brothers and sisters, they're married. And here's a thing I talked about before. You notice most of our Fulani brothers and sisters, they're not inclusive. They don't marry the Tubab much. See, so we don't have this problem that we have inside the United States, because our sisters here in the Fulby community are ready made for marriage. Unfortunately, inside the United States, the difficulties that we have. Our sisters a lot of times are not ready for marriage anymore because of the system and what has happened to them. They're not eligible for marriage because of what has happened to them. But here on the continent, we don't have that problem. Our sisters are ready made. They're ready made to already have children and to take care of their husbands and their families. We don't have that luxury inside the United States because of what has happened. So we can't blame them. But we have brothers who look at our African beautiful Fulani sisters. They know what they are. They know they are prized. They know that their beauty and their elegance and how they take care of family is well known. So we don't have to look to Europe at a Tubac woman to marry her. We don't have to look at a Tubac woman in America to marry her. We have beautiful sisters, Fulani sisters here that are far better in grace and manner and mannerism. They may not have the education and the money or something like some of the women in America, but they are far wealthier in other aspects of femininity that our American sisters can learn from. So we have to look at that. Here's another Fulani sister here. I had a debate talking about her. This girl here, our sister here, Fulani, she looked like many girls here in Morocco. I'm telling you that now. Many girls like this. And I'll get into this other factor about this in another segment of the Fulani. I will get more deeper into that and talk about historical things also what has happened to discuss that. Me and my brother Abu Bakr Guya, I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. Me and him have been conversing weekly about the Fulbe community. He has this place there in Facebook, his group, and all the Fulanis. You should join that group. You'll learn a lot about the Fulbe community. And me and him discuss these issues all the time, every week about the Fulani people. And we were talking about this factor about the Fulani woman and what has happened in the North Africa and so forth. We talked about this issue a lot. And so my dear brother, Abu Bakr here, my Gunya, he also has the insight about a historic thing about this issue. So this is why it's important that we have these connections with our brothers and sisters elsewhere. So brothers and sisters, this is a talk here again about the Fulani and Bilad, Sudan, and the Fulani factor, a great factor. You saw the map. You saw the map. It's incredible. The Fulani factor in Bilad, Sudan is nothing to joke about. It is massive, and it's not subject to some small area. It is massive. It's running from the west to the east. This is why the importance of the Fulani we have to look at that, because we are a major ethnic group in Garib Africa, West Africa. We are a major player, and along with our House of Brothers. They are a major player as well. And we are controlling that, and this has to be done. This part here, I'm showing you the Afro-Outer Belt, so-called Afro-Outer Belt. But brothers and sisters, if you look at this here, you see the Arabic is over here to your right. I don't know if it'd be your left, I'm not sure. But anyway, you look there, it says the Arabic. The Bilad Sudan covers the southern part of the part where you says Arabic, where you have Yemen and Oman in that area, and also Saudi Arabia as we understand it today. That's part of Bilad Sudan, because the black man was there and he's still there today, and he intermarried with the women of Hijaz, and of course produced hybrid types of women. But you see also all the way across over going towards where it's Tuareg, and then you start going left of that, and you see there of the area to north from Maghreb and stuff like this. And many of the Amazigh people we know today, I'll get deep into that, are actually Fulani as well. And here's the Afro languages, the Egyptian, the Amazigh, I don't like the word Berber, Kushite, Ometic, which my dad, part of that, that's southern Chad, northern part is Sudan, and then the Semitic, meaning the languages and so forth. These are all African generated languages and whatnot. And this is why Bilad Sudan runs all the way from there, all the way to the Arabian Peninsula. This is the Bilad Sudan that we know and we understand this, and even by our experts and by our intellectuals coined, who use this term and also have defined it, our borders, and I agree with them fully on that. Okay, my brothers and sisters, those who will show up in the near future. I hope this talk generated your interest, and I'm happy and I'm very proud that I'm a Fulani man, and so I want to promote this heritage because it's been maligned, and I'm hoping that I did spark your interest and whatnot, and I'm hoping that we meet again at another time. So I'll leave you with the beautiful words of Jinnah. Assalamu alaikum, rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.